Welcome back, folks, to Two Brits, One Puck. I'm your host, Mr. Intangibles, a complicated man, and a giant scaring boy, Dan Masters, with my good friend, a man who doesn't know the show he's on has been released, and a man who revels in footy backstabbery. Will Everett Human. Will, how you doing?
I'm pretty hot, Dan. Pretty hot, not gonna lie. It's toasty. Twice this week I have gone the majority of the day looking like an extra from Magic Mike. The sort of extra that isn't in shot, but like, you know, you've got to pad out the bodies there really to make it feel real.
I was going to say, what, like the pole? The stripper pole? Were you the pole?
Yeah, I wasn't shiny enough to be the pole. That's why I didn't quite make it.
Didn't quite make the cut in the final bit.
What's that? It's like when you get the kids playing the trees in a fucking school play because they're shit at acting.
I want to start this week with two other sportsmen in the news, which we didn't really touch on. One is an absolute bonehead, and the other is an absolute ledge. We'll start with the bonehead first. Have you heard about Novak Djokovic, Will?
I heard he got diagnosed with the infamous COVID.
He did indeed. Were you aware that this was after he put on his own tennis tournament with no social distancing or masks involved at all? And when questioned about it, he said, well, in my country, we've done everything really well, so it's fine. And then they went to a massive after party, and everyone's just dancing together, limboing. And Luka Jokic was there, the NBA player, and he also has it. So they've just been spreading it around.
That's beautiful. Are they both Serbian, I want to say?
Yeah, Serbian, yeah.
Yeah. And I trust this.
Yeah, and obviously Djokovic's wife has got it. There's some other tennis people who at the tournament have got it. There was people in the crowd who've got it. And it's all been traced back to one guy who, I think he was a guy who helped organise it and was obviously there a lot during the event.
It's like Novak, got a bit of a high temperature and a bit of a scratchy cough. I'm probably going to sit out for today. No, you're coming in.
And that's why Federer is the men's GOAT, you see. He's just retired to his Swiss mountain retreat with his wife and his kids, and he's just living in isolation, practicing on his game.
I don't think, as much as Federer is quite undisputedly the men's GOAT for tennis, I don't think having retired before the worst global pandemic in 100 years sort of...
No, not retired, as in he's gone away for a rest. Retired to bed. Not retired.
Retired to bed. Who fucking says retired to bed or retired anywhere unless you're talking about literally giving up your profession?
I don't know, Will. Some with a grasp of the English language, maybe? You absolute dolt. How about that?
No, it's all about fucking context clues, Dan, and we are talking about sport, and if you talk about retiring in sport, it's not like Sidney Crosby retired for a 45-minute break on the bench before a second shift. No.
I'm going to start using that. He retired in between his shifts.
He's going to have to retire for 5 minutes after that fighting match.
He's got to retire now in between the period for about 15 minutes. He's going to retire back to the locker room.
And during this brief retirement, we go to the studio. Elliot, how are you doing?
I don't know. Sometimes these words just fall out of my gob. I used it right, though, and that's the main thing. I used it correctly. That's what I'm happiest about.
You were correct. Fair play. I'll give you that. It's poor writing, is what it is.
I guess so. But Djokovic, what a fucking maroon. Jesus.
That's pretty good. Who's the absolute ledge, though?
The absolute ledge this week is Marcus Rashford.
Oh, yeah. Oh, crikey, yeah.
Marcus Rashford, who... And now this may seem crazy to some people. He got a bee in his bonnet about the government deciding that they're not going to feed children who can't afford food. Now, you know, the word headline grabber gets thrown around quite a lot. And this is clearly what Rashford's doing. If you're going to believe the government, he should really just stick to his lane and not be bothered that over 1 million children are going to go hungry because they weren't at school and they were getting, the school meals. So he decided to kick up a stink about it and got the government to do a U-turn. And he's an absolute ledge for it. What a lad.
I'm just saying, yeah. Michael Gove doesn't tell Marcus Rashford how to take a free kick, does he? He's not out
True.
There.
That is true.
He's not storming whatever fucking training ground United are training at and saying, right, Marcus, what you want to do is this, that and the other. So is it really Marcus Rashford a citizen of the UK, a citizen of the earth, is it really his place to suggest that we should feed impoverished children, most of whom have been made impoverished by the very government that are currently in power? Who's to say? Who is to say?
Who knows?
It's a real moral dilemma, I'd say.
You know, in these crazy times, do you wear a mask or do you starve a child to death? You know, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Who swings and roundabouts? I mean, who can say what's the right thing to do?
Did you see that tweet by I think a guy's name's John Danby. He's got a picture from The Shining as his fucking avatar on Twitter.
No.
And the tweet's something like, I've been asked to do a few things recently, like wear a mask, be anti-racist, stand up for trans rights, and I've got to say, it's really fucking easy. It's just it's things like that, like the way you open it with Marcus Rashford says we should feed impoverished children. It's like things like that where it's like, yeah, it's really that fucking easy. Like it is that easy. And if you are against that sort of stuff, you are exposing yourself as a literal cartoon supervillain.
Yeah. Or, as I will sometimes throw this word around, a grade A cunt. How about that?
It's another way to refer to people. As we said, Dan, the English language is a marvellous thing. There are many different ways you can use words, different words you can use to mean the same thing. Yeah, to say Michael Gove is a cunt is thoroughly accurate.
Yeah. And I think the real question here, Will, I think the real question we should be asking, I don't think this has been debated enough, is that should we feed children who might starve, or should we paint a Union Jack on a plane to show that we in Britain have planes with the Union Jack on them at the cost of about £1 million? Again, who's to say what's the right thing to spend money on?
Now, to play devil's advocate, Dan,
Go on.
The problem with feeding hungry children is, firstly, I've not met any children who've paid any taxes.
Good point.
That's just from an economic standpoint, that's where I'd come at it from. And then secondly, from a more sort of human and personal and social sort of angle, who knows whether those children are going to grow up to be murderers.
Also true. But think of it this way. What if one of those children grows up to be a really good plane painter? And then they could paint the new Union Jack on the new plane.
Or a skywriter, and they can spell out racist messages above Burnley, above football matches, and really contribute to society.
Oh God!
What, I don't know if you've heard that.
It's been quite a couple of weeks for this country, folks, as you can maybe tell.
Fucking incredible. And who could have seen it all revolving around the return of football?
Oh, it's so true. So true. Oh, dearie me.
White Lives Matter, mate. White Lives Matter is fucking true. What has the world ever done for the white man?
It's a great point. I mean, say what you want, Will. Single white men can't catch a break, you know? It's just tough. It's so tough for them, isn't it? God.
It goes without saying that the message on that play was fucking reprehensible. And as much as I'm laughing through this, like, that is fucking not acceptable. And I'd like to think we've made...
Well, the guy's been sacked, hasn't he, that did it?
Was he?
From his job.
Was he? Good.
Yeah.
That doesn't really change anything for me personally, but I'm glad to hear it. But
but I'm glad to hear it. That's what I mean. Like, good. At least they did something.
How much of a fucking psycho does that geezer have to be alright?
Who knows?
Here we go. This is...
It's just a bunch of one cells, isn't it? That's all they can think about. I just want to ask them, like, what are you actually against? Why are you so angry? Why?
I don't know. I can't wrap my head around that way of thinking.
I don't, me neither.
It's my understanding that flying a plane is kind of hard.
That is true.
So, how can you be smart enough to fly a plane and yet also dumb enough to be a fucking White Lives Matter freak?
God knows. What a couple of weeks. All right, let's move on. Should we start the show?
Yeah, go on, mate.
So far, 11 players have tested positive for COVID-19 as we head towards restarting the season. At this point, I'm not quite sure why. One of those players was Auston Matthews. We'll talk about the players testing positive in a minute and, you know, what it kind of means, but we'll do the Matthews things first. So Steve Simmons reports it in the Toronto Sun, and then he gets an absolute ton of blowback on it, with lots of people questioning if it's a HIPAA violation or, you know, they're asking for his job and all kinds of things. On the other side of that, the story is then seemingly buried and not reported on by TSN or Sportsnet. And his article was, I think there were some links to it, and like those links were, I think the article's still there, but certain links to it were removed. So I think it still exists, but I think you have to kind of find a jiggery pokery way to get to it now. What do you think about him reporting on this kind of thing?
See,
or about anybody reporting on this kind of thing?
The outrage that came to the Simmons report, it made me think like maybe I'm not quite as educated as I could be on this sort of topic, because I don't necessarily see. Yeah, it's not great that Steve Simmons is reporting on Auston Matthews testing positive for COVID, but part of me just think like, so fucking whatever, like Matthews himself was telling people that's how Simmons found out. He didn't fucking hack his doctor's database or whatever and find out, oh, Auston Matthews of 1 Toronto Lane or whatever is, oh, that's got to be him. So he
shout out to Piers Morgan.
He's not hacking dead people's phones, is he?
Yeah.
And maybe that's fucking like desensitized us to this sort of aspect of quote unquote news reporting. But yeah, is there much difference, especially at the moment in the guise of returning to play under COVID? Is there much difference to reporting that Matthews has COVID to Matthews has a torn ACL? Or is that naive of me to say? Like, I do not know.
This led me to kind of have two reactions. The first one was completely what you're saying, was that I read it, then read all the comments, and if someone wants to tell me why, maybe not why I'm wrong, but why I'm uneducated on this matter, then that's fine. But my thought was the same. Like, okay, so he's reported it. Who cares? He's going to isolate for a couple of weeks and then he'll be back, and that'll be it. I don't see the Blue Jackets now looking at Auston Matthews. Oh, he had about a COVID, boys. He's going to be weak. Let's get him, kind of thing.
Try and keep him out there for long shifts, boys. He's going to have weak lungs.
Exactly.
But it's...
Take his mask off him. He won't be able to breathe. He'll be breathing in everyone else is there. It'll be terrible for him. What's the difference between reporting that and reporting if he's... I mean, maybe it is different to reporting something like an ACL, because if the Leafs come out and say he's got a lower body injury, and then Steve Simmons comes out with, well, yeah, he's torn his ACL. That's hockey clubs don't like that, do they? They like to keep it as vague as possible.
Yeah, hockey.
It's never. It's either upper or lower body. That's it. That's all you get.
Hockey clubs don't like it, but fucking Jeff1212 on fucking Twitter's not going to be like, oh my fucking god, how dare you? That's a HIPAA violation.
Yeah, true. But then my second thing was, if it was, I don't know, let's think of a player who plays in a different, Matt Dumba. Do you think anyone would have cared?
Probably wouldn't have got.
Or anybody not on the Leafs, or, you know, a major market team or a major player.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't have gotten as big a sort of slice of the media pie. I think part of it also comes down to like the different expectations we have for privacy for sports people and celebrities. Like, to an extent, no, Auston Matthews isn't entitled to the same privacy that you or I are entitled to. Whether it's right or wrong, that is the nature of the beast when it comes to being in the public eye. Especially, like you say, being the franchise centre for the most in the spotlight team in the entire sport. Like, it's...
Yeah.
And yeah, part of me thinks, like, reporting that Matthews has COVID doesn't give him fucking double COVID. It doesn't, like... It doesn't...
Now he's got mega COVID.
He's gone fucking supernova with this COVID. and it's... There's another side of it where it's not the most malicious reporting that Steve Simmons has ever done. At least he's not fucking slandering people.
It's a fair point. That is a fair point.
Yeah. But yeah, like we've said, it does feel wrong to be particularly against people who are upset by it because, yeah, this is an aspect of the man's private life that is coming out into the media. I do hate to use the argument, at least it's not this. But, like, it's not like it's just a medical report. He has this illness, which fucking 3 out of 10 people have at the moment. It's not like he's revealing, I don't know, whatever, Auston Matthews is gay or whatever it might be.
Yeah, it's not like he's the only person on the planet who's got it and it now makes him some kind of... I don't know.
He's like, patient zero, like...
Yeah, exactly. It's not that.
But even then, if it was Auston Matthews supposedly creating this virus in a lab in southern China, I feel like that's necessary journalism.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that'd be with Steve Simmons then. Then I'd agree on it.
Fucking Steve.
But if anybody listening has a strong opinion as to why this is wrong and wants to educate us, please do feel free. Because we just might be missing something.
This is the one of 3 times in the duration of this podcast's life where we will admit that we need help with a situation. There are 2 other times remaining. And we will alert you. 2? Well, they are to come. They are to come.
They're to come. Yeah, we'll never admit we need help. We'll just keep talking until one of us says something and we can move on.
Yeah, so strike while the iron's hot. Take the opportunity to better us as people, as so many others have failed to do.
11 players have tested positive. Obviously, the Lightning had to shut down their facility. There has been a big spike again in Arizona, where a lot of players were kind of hanging out and staying. And with America seemingly heading towards a gigantic second wave, looking at some graphs and figures this week, which seemed really scary for America, how do you now find a hub city that's safe and also big enough? Like, same in Florida. Florida's now getting record cases 3 months down the line when everyone else is starting to at least wind down a little bit.
Florida, the state that deemed the WWE as an essential service, are having a massive second wave. Who could have fucking seen that come in?
And they've had loads of positive tests this week.
They had
loads.
I think yesterday was their highest new cases reported since the whole thing began.
Yeah,
something like in the high 8,000s, which is mental. Yeah. It's no surprise. Like, just to ignore the hockey thing for a minute, like, of course, because these governments, world governments the world over, they're not fucking interested about keeping you and me safe from COVID. They're interested about getting the economy going again. Which in a lot of ways, yes, that is going to affect us as individuals in the long run. But I think in the short term, we need to take it into our own hands and not ignore government advice, because government advice is just saying you can go and do these things if you want. But it's the understanding that just because your country's leader is saying you can do something doesn't mean that you fucking should do it. Especially when it's your own personal health on the line and the health of your family and anyone you come in contact with. And as we said before, it's not just a case of either you have COVID and you die or you don't die. You can survive and still have a fucked up life for a very long time after this. So
yeah, or you can give it to someone else and you can kill them.
Yeah, or change their life irreparably. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Donald and Bojo still do not care about us and do not listen to them.
Oh no, yeah, no, of course not. Yeah, it's they don't give a shit about us. But bring it back to hockey.
But more importantly,
now. But more importantly, we do need to have a cup winner this year. It's imperative. How are you now going to find a hub city that's safe? Or
if we didn't have the issues with border control between the US and Canada, you'd say just have both of them in Canada. But the fact of the matter is there are issues with border control. So I don't know if we go back to maybe more obscure hub cities like we were thinking about right at the beginning, like in fucking North Dakota and Utah and places like that. But I just don't know. I think they will settle for one of the ones that they've been considering. Because it was places like Toronto and Vancouver and Dallas and Vegas, obviously. There's even talk about Los Angeles and stuff like that. So I think they'll have been considering enough places in the US to settle on one for better or worse. And
you're absolutely gonna have to absolutely bubble these teams completely.
That
It is going to have to be once you're in and you're tested and you're fine, that's it. No one else comes in, no one else. It's 28 days, it's 28 weeks later, basically.
yeah, that's
Patient, like we're all locked up in this city with the high walls and no one can get in or out. And that's it for the next 3 months until we finish.
That's the other side of it. There's an element of if you do this thing properly and restrict it as best you can, it doesn't matter what city you're in. Like, because you should be locked down. But
then there are going to be those people who are going to have to go in there. I'm thinking, things like food and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not there are ways it can get in.
Absolutely.
It's interesting. It's interesting watching, because obviously the Premier League started again. It's interesting watching the football games and all these players are just all over each other like a cheap suit and stuff at corners and free kicks.
Yeah.
And hockey players are always crashing into each other.
Spitting on each other, licking each other. Just standard stuff,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, standard stuff.
Do you think this is going to impact their ability to come back at all?
No, because like I've said before, and maybe I've missed this or something, I'm convinced that they're terrified that because every single company's feeling the pinch, even TV companies, they're scared that NBC or Sportsnet or whoever, if it gets right down to it, they can then, if there's no hockey and it doesn't come back, they can then say, well, you broke your contract, so we'll have to let you go.
Yes.
We're not going to renew the deal, or you've broken your contract, so the deal is terminated. You can say, say goodbye to all that money from the TV deal. And I think they're just terrified. I think they're terrified of that. And obviously in Canada it's different, but for the American market...
No, it's interesting throwing Canada in there as well, because famously Sportsnet have invested a lot of money in the NHL TV deal and have not got anywhere near enough back in return.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, if there is that sense of out and you can save money, I wouldn't even be surprised if Sportsnet said, nah, fuck you, see you later.
Yeah, maybe you're right, yeah.
Because Sportsnet would be, if it's all sort of relative, Sportsnet would be saving, I don't know, twice as much as NBC would to kick the NHL League up.
If there's literally no way the TV deal can be changed or altered or anything like that, if the NHL doesn't complete its season, I'd like to know. But that to me just screams why they're coming back.
But it's like anything at the moment, isn't it? Yes, the NHL would technically be in breach of contract by not fulfilling the allotted number of games to NBC or Sportsnet or whoever it is. But it's whether there's like a sort of reasonable acceptance of these are extenuating circumstances.
Once you get into sort of contract law and all that kind of thing, it just gets really tricky, doesn't it? You're looking at like a certain sentence is capital lettered or full stopped correctly and all that kind of, maybe that's, and then you could say, well, look at this, it's a breach, we can forget the deal now, that's it. I mean, God knows.
That's the thing, it's a question of either there is some sort of clause written into these contracts for should the NHL be able to unfinish its season for unforeseen circumstances, blah, blah, blah. And if there's not, then yeah, it's just a question of whether the TV networks' lawyers want to go for the throat or not. I'd imagine
I don't know.
for a league that has lost an entire season to a fucking wage dispute, I'd imagine there's some sort of clause written into the contracts, but just in case. Because otherwise there would have been issues.
I think you're giving a bit too much credit there.
but then there has been a lockout within the duration of this TV deal, hasn't there?
True.
Only half a lockout, but maybe that compounds the issue. The NBC lost 36 games or whatever it is 34 games to the 2013 lockout, and they're like, okay, we'll let that slide. Another 20 regular season games, though, we're going to have an issue.
You fucked us before, you're not going to fuck us again.
No, and now Taylor Hall can't get paid $9 million a year because the NHL owes NBC $250 million.
Right, let's move on from that for a sec. This news dropped literally as we finished recording the show last week, and I nearly rang Will back and said, Dan Carcilo has filed as a lead plaintiff a new class action lawsuit against the Canadian Hockey League. But I kind of wanted to let it breathe and see what came of it before we just kind of jumped in and started sort of discussing it and things like that. But he has, and he alleges that he and other teenage players were routinely victims to hazing, bullying, physical and verbal harassment, physical assault, sexual harassment, and sexual assault The lawsuit was filed with the Ontario Superior Court of Justice. Dan said that the case is on behalf of underage minors who suffered violent hazing, physical and sexual assault, and psychological trauma while playing major junior hockey. He said, I was one of those kids when I played in the OHL, and I know there are many more just like me. I am not going to go into everything because there is a ton of stuff in there, a lot of things to read. Some of which is, incredibly, incredibly bad. Really bad. I guess initially, before asking any questions on anything else, your initial thoughts on this lawsuit?
Well, I think when formulating thoughts and opinions on it, the first thing that comes to mind is the class action regarding concussions and long-term brain injuries and the lawsuit against the NHL, because it's going to be a similar situation to that. We've had the initial revelation from Carcilo, and then obviously the people who are involved in the class action with him. But now this is going to be a fucking long haul before we get any real answers about it. I think not answers in the sense of whether it's true or not, because I think most reasonable people can look inside themselves and not disbelieve this for a second. On the back of Artemi Panarin coming out with all the issues around race that he had there, the racial abuse that he was experiencing, and on top of the hazing as well at the hands of Steve Downey, I'm not fucking surprised for a second that there was sexual assault and drug abuse, forced drug abuse and things like that within the CHL. Because it's not surprising in the slightest. I think similarly to the class action lawsuit surrounding head trauma in the NHL, I don't necessarily think there will be what you could call a victory for Carcilo and the other claimants in the case. But the hope is that this leads to strong reform within junior hockey all across the world. Not only the CHL and major junior, we were talking minor junior, we're talking down to midget and below, because as Artemi Panarin, Kevin Weeks, Matt Dunbar, countless other players have attested to, Jamal Smith, this abuse starts when people are 5 years old. Maybe not in all cases the sexual abuse and the drug abuse and the physical abuse, but in most cases the racial abuse starts that young. And I wouldn't be surprised if you have similar sort of violent hazing rituals as growing in intensity the further up the junior hockey ranks you go. So the hope is that we see reform and that it's not just at surface level, not just the leagues we see.
According to the lawsuit, Carcilo and some other players from the Sarnia Sting reported the abuse when playing for the national team, the juniors, and the OHL and CHL agents conducted an investigation and said that no steps were taken to address any alleged abuse and no findings were released. It just sounds like a nice big fat sweep it under the rug, doesn't it?
Oh, we investigated ourselves and we found that we didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah. We investigated what we did and we thought it was fine. We thought it was completely fine. And you've only got to look at sort of college football in the States. We've had things with soccer over here recently, with youth players being abused sexually and forced to do things that against their will, drugs-wise, sexual, all kinds of stuff. And it's just, what's the word? It's a disease. It's a disease around children playing sport and the people in power who choose to wield it in just god-awful ways. And it's just, if you go and look at all the cases around the world in all the sports of mental abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, all the kind of things that have happened to a lot of children and a lot of teenagers from adults over over playground games, which is essentially what it is, or Sunday morning bros and pond games with your buddies. That's all these are. But these people just seem to find their way into these situations of power within these young people's lives, and they just completely abuse the situation. And I am not going to go into details, not for me personally, but for people I've spoken to who were not even at major teams involved in soccer and rugby in this country, but I know people who were in and around well-known rugby league teams in this country and well-known soccer teams in this country, and they've told me things that, oh God, we like one night we got this lad and we did this. Oh, it was so funny, and I'm just sitting there open-mouthed, thinking to myself, holy shit! I mean, that's illegal, isn't it? I absolutely believe every single thing in this report. I believe every single thing.
And to call it a disease is absolutely the right word, Dan, because it spreads like wildfire. It's the adults in position of power exploiting their power, be it as what they see as like a motivational tool to weed out the wheat from the chaff and all that sort of stuff. That sort of coercive, abusive behaviour then bleeds into the children in their care. The children in their ward, the children who are playing the sport for them and as part of their team. And then that behaviour becomes normalised for people of that team, and then it's perpetuated. So, a lot of people are saying, against Carcilo specifically, because he is a lightning rod, and a lot of people, even now after what seems to be quite genuine personality reform on his part, seem to find it easy to wave the stick at Dan Carcilo, and the argument is, oh well, you admit to having perpetuated these behaviours and carried it on, and if anything, that is the perfect example of the damage that these people can do to these young people. These adults can instill these ways of behaving to children who don't. We don't need to explain to anyone that children are fucking innocent. Like, children don't know shit until you teach them that. And if you teach them bad shit, they're going to do bad shit. And that goes through to, just because someone's 14, 15, they don't suddenly become not a child. There's a reason that the age of being an adult is set at 18 around the world, by and large. It's because we are still accepting that your 15, 16, 17-year-olds are young and impressionable enough that they are not strictly responsible for their own actions and should be under guard of people who are legally of age to be of sound mind and body. So, to call it a disease is spot on, because, as we all know too well in this current climate, it spreads so fucking easily.
On Thursday, the CHL Board of Directors agreed to an appointment of an independent review panel to examine policies and practices relating to hazing, abuse, bullying, and the fact that players playing in and around the leagues don't feel comfortable reporting anything, to higher ups. The CHL said in a statement that they are deeply troubled by allegations in the recent announced class action, many of which are historic in nature, and we believe are not indicative of leading experience our players receive in the CHL today. Regardless of the timing, we are taking the claims very seriously, as the protection of our players has been and will always be our primary concern. I mean, all right then. The CHL will announce a chair of the panel later this year, and the review process is expected to be completed in time for the 2021 season. Maybe I'm wrong. I can't remember any time since I've been alive and paying attention to the news close enough that I'm aware of independent review panels or independent review boards that a paper's ever come out that has completely turned the thing they were investigating on its head. And I just don't think it's going to be any different now.
And
you hear all the time that, well, this thing happened over here in this company. They've got an independent panel to review the situation. And it just comes out with kind of, well, they did a couple of things wrong, but it's okay now. So that's fine.
We've sat that unless there's something I'm missing, so it's fine.
Yes, yeah. It's like this. Yeah, the CHL are probably going to find some guy who's close to retirement anyway and say, well, this guy once made a player bathe another player in beer, and that's disgraceful. So we're going to get rid of him. And that'll be like, well, we have taken action. That's all we could find out, and it's just going to be, it's just going to be full of fluff, I think.
I don't know if it's like an ingrained, petulant, anti-establishment mentality on my part, but the phrasing of that statement from the CHL, where they're bringing up, these are historic allegations, we don't believe this is being perpetuated in the CHL today. Like, why, if you're going to investigate it, don't bring that up. Don't try and cover your own back, and almost, because by bringing up the timing and the sort of chronology of the claims from Carcilo and his co-claimants, it does automatically give an air of discredit to the claims. It's like, oh, well, that all happened in the past. It's not like that anymore. We don't need to change anything because it doesn't happen anymore. It was 20 years ago. Dan Carcilo can't get over it. It's just and for all these organisations, all the teams that came out with diabolically worded statements on the BLM protests. Who are you fucking paying for PR? Like, you're paying some geezer or woman for like 90 grand, 150 grand, whatever the fucking money is a year for PR statements, and you're putting out this shit. It just doesn't, like you say, it doesn't fill you with a good feeling that this is going to be done in good faith or going to get any results.
Can you see some judge, right? I mean, to be fair, I don't. My formal training is in British law, so I'm not sure how Canadian law works, obviously. But you can't see some judge because this is the Carcilo and the other people involved are seeking damages. You can't see some judge coming out and saying, yes, Mr. Carcilo, thank you for bringing this to our attention. Yeah, you are absolutely right. This was a disgrace. I'm going to award all of you, however many people are involved, $400 million between you, and I'm going to make sure that the CHL collapses under financial pressure and disappears forever. No, it's just not going to happen, is it?
No, you're suing hockey itself.
Exactly.
But that's where, and I as much as
OHL, goodbye. The Q, see you later. WHL, what's that anymore? All gone now because of Dan Carcilo. Yeah, that's really going to happen, isn't it?
I'm sure there are going to be other claimants in the case who do actually need the money. Not that Dan Carcilo is fucking Jeff Bezos, but I think he's doing all right. But I'd imagine that the main aim for the case is actually to get reform. I'd imagine wholeheartedly that because the money's not going to undo what's happened to these people. It's not going to actually repair the wounds done.
Of course not.
For anyone who sues for damages in any sort of abuse case, like if you're awarded 40 quid or 40 million, it doesn't change what's happened. It doesn't mend those wounds. So I think, I'd imagine at least, the main aim is to get change to ensure that it doesn't happen to any other young people.
Let's hope so. But that needs to be. And Brock McGillis said, didn't he? It's not a junior issue; it's a hockey issue. And yeah. I can piggyback off that and say it's not a hockey issue; it's a sports issue. Because as I've said, I know about things happening like that in soccer and rugby league, and there's like I said, all the stuff in America with the gymnast. What's that guy's name? Larry Nasser.
Yeah.
The whole thing with the college football teams and. Yeah, it's a sports issue, which is just insane.
It's a sports issue
when you think about it.
Time and time again seems to be amplified in hockey.
That is true.
For whatever reason.
Let's move on. We are on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and now only 1 metre away from you. And if you could leave a 5-star review on iTunes, that would be really good. And as always, we are brought to you and sponsored by Wave Intel. Do not let the fact that Jason has a pool in his back garden fool you into thinking he doesn't know how to graft, because he does. His patented comparison charts are easy to read, and he produces a ton more stuff, including looking at teams' drafting abilities. Wave Intel online and on Twitter, being smart, so you don't have to. Okie dokie.
Does he really have a...
Jason's got a pool.
I was going to say, does he really have a pool?
It looked like it in that picture, didn't it?
I haven't seen the photo. Why does he need a fucking...
You've not seen the photo?
Why does he need a pool? He lives in fucking Montreal, doesn't he?
Well, maybe in the summer it's a pool and in the winter it's a hockey rink. I don't know.
In the summer it's a hockey rink, am I right, Dan?
Good point. Maybe it's heated. I don't know.
Fucking got him. I'm very interested about this. What's this photo? It's just charts. Because you lied to me about what the password is for the Twitter. I still haven't been able to log back in.
Sorry, yeah.
Trying to keep me out.
Sorry, I'm sorry for stifling your Twitter activity on our account.
God, I would be posting at least once a week if it weren't for you. At least.
God, if it's once a week. Christ, if it's once a week, I'll be doing backflips. You tweeted like 5 times, I think, in the entire history of our account.
I've got a lot less going on nowadays. Here we go.
That's true.
God, that's a body of water, or it's a very nice puddle.
In it.
So he's done a fucking motorbike, not a motorbike, an exercise bike.
Yeah.
God, I love him, but what a twat.
Those are the words of Will Everett, Jason. You look like you could beat us both up. So he said that, not me.
Oh, Dan, if I went through my life adhering to, the idea of not calling someone a twat just because he could beat me up, I would have not lived a very fulfilling life up until now.
It's a fair point. But I can also tell, unlike me, you've not been beaten up that many times. For calling someone a twat to their face.
The only time I got beaten up was because I went back to get a shoe that fell off.
Carry on.
All right. I'll make it quick. So we were like 14.
Let's fucking go, Cinderella. Here we go. Fucking Big Willie Midnight over here.
Yeah, that's a good thing that Cinderella didn't go back for the glass slipper. Otherwise, she'd have had the fucking shit being out of her. So
she didn't get a backhander from one of the ugly sisters.
God, mate, more than a backhander, I'll tell you that. Right, just quickly. So I was 14. We were meant to be going to this, like a not metal-ed youth club, but like an alternative youth club. You know what I mean?
Edgelord, go on.
Yeah, absolute edgelord. Yeah, for kids with skinny jeans and really badly dyed black hair.
Yeah.
But it was shut, so we thought, let's go drink some WKD on the pier, on the Harbour Arm, sorry.
Of course.
So we did that, and it was about 9 o'clock, so we were like, right, let's go and get the train home. And on the way back, a group of scallies hanging by the entrance to the Harbour Arm. And one of the people we were with looked at them in a way that was not satisfactory to this group of double-hard boys. So they start following us. Then one of them lamps that kid. It was really fucking bad, actually. Like, he fell over one of those, it's like low chain fences that you get for car parks.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, like fell over one of those and cracked his head on a car bonnet as well. It was pretty fucking bad. Anyway, so they start chasing us. We're sprinting off. And my shoe comes off while we're running. Because I was too cool to do my laces up, because who is at that age?
Of course.
And in the completely illogical moment, I thought, well, I haven't done anything wrong. Maybe if I go back and get my shoe, they'll not even recognise me as someone that they're trying to get.
Oh dear.
So I got the shoe, took a few punches and kicks to the head, and got a taxi home. That was that.
That's what we just call a Friday night in Kent, isn't it?
Standard Ramsgate night out, really. It's just how it goes. The good news is that shoe lasted me at least 6 months, maybe another year, so totally worth it, really.
Up on the deal.
And it definitely hasn't affected me negatively.
Every time you just see one shoe, you start breaking out into a cold sweat. Like, oh my god, there's a shoe.
I have to put both shoes on at once, otherwise I get PTSD.
You just turtle onto the floor.
So you're not the only one with stories, Dan. Not the only one with stories. But yours are...
No, that's true.
Yours are far more empowering, I think.
The ones I can tell on here are, anyway. Okay.
Should do the Hall of Fame.
You have a spicy take for me for the Hall of Fame.
But as I was trying to walk back before we started recording, I don't think it's that spicy a take to say that people who are currently doing the job probably shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. If you ask me, is it a lifetime achievement award if you're still living that lifetime? If you still have things yet to achieve? What are we doing putting Ken Holland in the fucking Hall of Fame and Jimmy Rutherford and Gary Bettman before him? Well, not to say that Ken Holland doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Like, that's a different question entirely. But this year, do we need to put Ken Holland in?
I kind of see what you're saying, but there is a slight issue, is that, how do I say, you want the people to be able to enjoy it if they're going to go into the Hall of Fame. Yeah. And with some of them, I'm not saying I'm wishing this on anything or anyone. I'm just saying that. Get it out there now. But you can't really wait until somebody retires just in case they never get the chance to retire. So if it's their turn to go in, you just got to put them in and do it, just in case.
Yep. Okay, I understand that. But say, okay, Lou Lamoriello, the oldest person on the planet, was inducted 11 fucking years ago.
Yeah, but he was the oldest person on the planet then as well.
But this is the point. I get we don't want like another Pat Burns. Was it Pat Burns or Pat Quinn? Whichever one it was that didn't get inducted until after he was dead. Nobody wants that. Like you're absolutely right. We want to actually induct fucking living, breathing people into the Hall of Fame, not fucking urns full of ashes. But at the same time, I would think, when was the last time an NHL GM died on the job? I don't think it's happened, as far as I'm aware. So
to the Google machine.
How many? Oh my! 98% of NHL GMs die on the job. Did you know that?
Maybe if you're looking at it sports-wise, they all die on the job, don't they?
Wow. Fucking there you go. That's a different question.
There you go.
But yeah, I think it's a bit early for Ken Holland, who has no known medical issues and is certainly not knocking on death's door.
I just pressed return without looking at what Google had auto-corrected it to. I did. Has an NHL GM died while GM? And it changed it to, has an NHL GM diet while Jim? Fucking hell.
I just don't think that, we should be... Maybe that's the problem. We should just have a hard and fast, you can't be inducted when you're alive.
Yeah, maybe.
But Ken Holland specifically is 1 year and 1.5 months into a new job. He ain't going fucking anywhere.
I do see what you're saying. I don't know. I think it's... I don't mind it. I think it's fine. It doesn't bother me at all.
I'll tell you one thing I'm glad about with this Hall of Fame class.
Go on.
Kevin Lowe is now a Hall of Famer, which retroactively makes me calling him a Hall of Famer 3 months ago correct.
The only thing I care, because I really don't care about the Hall of Fame, honestly, if I'm being honest with you.
Whatever.
But the only thing that surprised me was something that Paul Campbell brought up the day after it was announced, because obviously when it got announced we were asleep, was that Alex McGillney isn't in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
And that absolutely stunned me.
Geezer scored 76 goals in 77 games and he's not in the fucking Hall of Fame. Like, what are we even talking about here?
And do you know what? I'd never talked about him not being in the Hall of Fame before because I assumed he was in the Hall of Fame. Why would you not have the first ever Soviet defector who is then really fucking good and puts up the numbers? Why is he not in the Hall of Fame?
Because, I was listening to Puck Soup earlier, and I think it was Sean McIndoe made the good point of most of the people who are on the Hall of Fame selection committee, A, they're North American, B, primarily Canadian, and more importantly, they would have been rivals with McGillney and the Red Army at the time. So that's what it is.
That can't be it.
Mate, like,
that can't be it.
If that's not it, fucking what is it?
I mean, you put it like that, you make a good point.
It's either xenophobe, it's either not wanting to put your enemy and someone you don't like in the Hall of Fame, fair enough, or it's xenophobia, not fair enough, or it's just plain stupidity, which fair enough again, I suppose.
How can it be xenophobia though, right? When the guy said, you know that country that I live in, that I'm representing, fuck that whole place. Fuck that whole place and their shitty teams. I'm going to come play with you guys where it's way cooler and I'll make way more money and have way more fun. Wouldn't it be like the fuck you wing of the Hall of Fame to Russia?
In the words of Stephen Gerrard, born a red, die a red. And that is
I guess so, yeah.
Absolutely a mantra that the Hall of Fame committee lives by.
True, yeah. I mean, who knew the Cold War was still going on?
They've actually got lifelines like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire on the Hall of Fame selection committee. One of them Lanny McDonald used his phone a friend when it came to McGillney, and he phoned John Tortorella. He said, "You see the problem, Lanny? The guy's a fucking commie." And here we go.
It's insane. That's so insane.
Fucking, I know the argument's been done to death, but it does have to be spoken about. For me, you're either going to have a small hall, and it is purely the best of the best, proper proper legends, like there are 7 people in the fucking Hall of Fame. Or
Yeah, like one guy gets in every year. There's maybe like 40 guys in it.
that's a different thing I want to talk about in a second. Or
Okay.
and the way that I think it actually should be is like emphasize the fame. Like, don't worry about, we had 7 Hart Trophy nominations and 1 a Selkie, and he was a postseason All-Star 3 times. I don't fucking dick me about that shit. I just like, was he famous? Was he that's the fucking one. And how much more famous can you get than the first Soviet to defect? 76 goals in 77 games. Like the first really big Russian prospect and first Russian superstar of the NHL. Those are fucking milestones. Don't worry about accolades. I want fucking milestones. And McGillney has all of it. It's mental.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh yeah, I am. Say it again for me.
You are right. It's the same. It's the same for me with guys who were picked in the 7th round, who then went on to have a career. Mm-hmm. They should be in. As I've said before, they should be in under the premise of, look what you can actually achieve if you work hard. You don't have to be first over. You don't even have to go in the first 6 rounds to make a career. If you work and you give it your all, you can have a career. Henrik Zetterberg was the prime example. When we talked about him, I can't remember what we talked about him before, but we talked about Zetterberg ages ago. There should be like a 7th round area or something. And you don't even have to have won anything or had a cup or got any individual awards. If you've gone from the 7th round and had a 12-year NHL career, you absolutely should go into the Hall of Fame. To inspiration, for just inspiration.
That's another side of it that I'm always a bit cognizant of. Like, I've never been to the Hall of Fame. I don't know how it's laid out. So for all I'm aware of, there could be a section that has people who aren't in the Hall of Fame, but it acknowledges their accomplishments.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, yeah, fair enough. That's a different way of looking at it. But yeah, I'm totally with you. It's put the fucking stories in there. If you're an interesting player, you should be in there if we're talking about you for whatever reason.
What was your what was it you were going to say about? I said about having one person a year going in, and you said you got something to say about that.
Oh yeah, mate. Like what
was that?
Nah, if there are people to put them in. Don't, because that's how you end up with like Alex McGillney not getting in, because like, we can only have 4 geezers in a year, and like, oh well, fucking Marion Host has got to go in, so we can't put in Alex McGillney. Kevin Lowe's got to go in, so we can't put in Alexander McGillney. Like, no, don't fucking mug yourselves off, because then you're belittling the sort of strength of your own Hall of Fame by not having the people who you. Yeah, it's like you're saying, oh, Alex McGillney should be in the Hall of Fame, but our rules say that he can't be in this year or last year or whatever.
Yeah.
You see, you're just mugging yourself off by setting yourself restrictions when there shouldn't be that sort of thing. Either someone should be in the Hall.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I agree with that, because then it becomes then it does weaken it, because then it becomes a case of, well, it's his turn to go in now, instead of, well, he's going in because he was amazing. Because if only a certain amount of players can go in, well, he missed his turn this year, so we'll put him in next year. Well, it shouldn't be about that. If one year there's only 2 people who should go in, then only 2 people go in.
Yep.
If there's one year there's 10 guys, and 10 guys and 4 women who can go in, put them all in.
Yeah,
who cares?
Fucking excellent. You've got a bumper Hall of Fame class. Who wouldn't want that?
Yeah, well done.
And you end up with things like you're mugging yourself off in different ways, where like Doug Wilson finally gets in after 24 years or whatever it is, and it's like, okay, he's in, but why did it take so long?
Yeah.
It's moronic to me. I kind of get the idea of, we don't want to dilute the achievement by having 17 people go in every year. So then either restrict your criteria for people getting in, or change your expectations of what it means to get into the Hall of Fame. It's all of the sort of bluster and commotion about it is purely self-inflicted by the Hall of Fame selection committee themselves. Any controversy.
If only there was some way they could change the rules, well,
out of my hands, mate. Rules are the rules.
There's a thing where he's like Homer's the mayor or something, and he says like, "I'm only one man. What can I do?" Like, you're the mayor. I'm just one guy. What am I supposed to do?
It's just the way we've always done it.
Speaking of one man, speaking up, the bread man, Artemi Panarin. As we've talked about in the past few months, NHL players are definitely finding their voice a bit more now, and he was talking about escrow and returning to play. And he said, I'm very much looking forward to the playoffs with the New York Rangers. I have concerns not only about the health of players and their families, but also about the long-term prosperity of the NHL. For nearly 2 decades, the players have protected the owner's income with escrow, including throughout this pandemic crisis. Even as owners' equity continues to grow exponentially, it is time to fix the escrow. There's a bit more about that, but yeah. I mean, he's right, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. Who would have thought that a Russian would be anti-billionaire? Who could have seen that coming? It's beautiful. And to loop back to what we were saying about PR people earlier, are you telling me that fucking Artemi Panarin, a non-native English speaker, can craft such a well-worded statement about COVID and the state of escrow in the NHL?
Shit, you know what? I didn't even think of that. That's a great point.
It's
yeah, but everyone's got Google Translate, haven't they?
Yeah, you're right. Fuck you, Artemi. It's he's spot on, and it's an issue that doesn't just plague the NHL. It plagues, as we've seen throughout this pandemic, it plagues businesses. No matter what the industry, no matter what the country, these billionaire owners are not held accountable. The buck does not stop with them because it does not fucking reach them. It stays with the workers. And as much as people are going to cry and say, oh, it's millionaires whining at billionaires, in a lot of ways, you've got a lot more in common with an NHL player or a Premier League player than you do with a fucking sports team owner. I'll tell you now. Yeah.
There's a great Chris Rock quote, which is, okay, so Shaquille O'Neal is really, really rich, but think how rich the guy is who gives him those checks.
That's fucking it. That's it.
Innit?
And then the guy who gives them those checks is not responsible for the success or failure of the league in which they are an owner. Players are employees. It doesn't matter that they have massive inflated salaries and they earn, unbelievable sums of money for you and I. They are still employees. And you would not expect to be an employee of a company that you work for and then have your boss turn around and the owner of your company turn around and say, we didn't have that good a profit this month, so you're going to have to give us half of your paycheck. Because that is what's happening to these players. And yeah, I think once you get past the fact that Artemi Panarin's making $10-12 million a year, like, that is still what's happening. He's being promised a certain sum of money in exchange for him playing for the New York Rangers, and then he fulfills his contract and at the end is told, okay, we weren't as successful as they thought we would be, so even though you fulfilled your end of the deal, we're going to renege on ours and actually take back a percentage of your money. Sorry, bruv.
And then Ryan Kessler replied to that and said it's about time. The owners need to understand we're done paying their debts. Mm-hmm. You run your team into the ground, it's on you. If there's a pandemic, it's on the owners. Figure it out. It's not a free ride.
That's absolutely it. That's absolutely it. And I said to you, Dan, like, it feels like I wasn't around for 2004, 2005, or even 2012, 2013. But this feels like the players have had fucking enough. The fact that it's actually bubbled to the surface in a sport that we've said time and time again, everyone has said time and time again, you don't talk about personal issues or problems or whatever, you don't want to be a distraction, blah, blah, blah. For this to come out and players to actually vocalise this frustration with the escrow system, rightful frustration, this has got to be the foundation for the next CBA negotiations and potentially the next lockout.
Yeah, I was reading the article about this on Russian Machine Never Breaks, which is a really good hockey website.
Shout out.
And yeah, shout out to them for sure. And they mentioned about Ovi after, I don't know if were you watching in 2013 or not?
No, I got in the latter half of 13-14 after the Olympics.
Oh, okay, right. So after Game 7, when the Caps played after Game 6, when the Caps played the Rangers, Ovi said, I'm not saying there was a phone call, but they wanted Game 7 for ratings. Lockout, escrow, league must make profit. And I remember at the time it was like, oh, he fucking said what? He said what? Are you kidding? I love it.
I don't want to say it's true, but
you never know, do you?
Would you be surprised if Gary Bettman's in the fucking ref's ear saying, right, we've got to get the Rangers a power play or whoever it is, like, we've got to set this thing to 7?
Not at all. Not at all.
I mean,
oh god, I was going to come across then like such a such a bitter. You know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say it.
Go on, say it.
I'm going to be. I'm slightly, as I've said a million times on the show, I am very unbiased with my Bruins commentary, but I'm going to be a bit biased here and a bit bitter. After Craig Berube complained last season, saying that the Bruins are roughing up the Blues players and all this kind of thing, and it was a disgrace, suddenly the Blues start to get a lot more calls in their favour, which was really interesting, and it suddenly seemed to prolong the series somehow.
I think that's another question about the way that officiating in almost any sport, as far as I'm aware, responds to media pressure or outside pressure. Because credit to the referees, they are still human beings, and we all do respond to outside pressure and outside influences subconsciously. You know, whether we want to or not, it does affect us because that's how we're wired. We are wired to respond to other stimulus, especially when say we are being called out on our performance, or when if somebody like Craig Berube feels that their team is being wronged specifically in your hands, as professional as you can be, that is going to affect the way that you treat the next game. So I think, as much as it's nice to think about match fixing and stuff like that, and that sort of conspiracy stuff, there is a hard sort of psychological science behind it that would more often than not argue that is the case.
Can you not just let me enjoy wearing my tinfoil hat for 5 minutes?
Well, I'm kind of with you. I'm just taking the tinfoil off your hat and saying, here's a better hat to wear that still has the same sort of point.
You're giving me a paper hat instead?
Yeah, because I need the foil to bake a turkey. Sorry, mate. That's my life.
Where are you going with that?
Yeah, my foil.
Jesus.
Yeah. Right, I've got something to cook then. I need the foil.
Yeah, let's leave it there.
I will not be elaborating on what I am cooking.
No. I know it's been spoken about with Major League Baseball and their return to play and how they wanted the players to take a wage cut and all that kind of thing. This kind of weirdly relates to something that's been happening near me and I'll get around to what my sort of overall point was in a sec, but the largest zoo in the country is Chester Zoo, which is 25 minutes from where I live. And Chester Zoo is humongous, and I'll be honest, it is phenomenal. It's amazing. You have a ton of stuff there, like loads of interactive things. You can now get on a boat there and go across and go along this river and sort of stop off on the way and go and see certain animals, come back, and then they'll have certain animals in the river that you can look at, and it's an amazing place. It is an amazing place.
And
I've been going
they treat
there.
You really nicely there, yeah?
Yeah. I've been going there for at least 20 years, right? It's always been expensive to get into. It's 30 quid each. It's regardless of size. I think it's like kids under 2 can get in free. Or like 3 or something like that.
You pay 30 quid for George?
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
Right? So you're a family of 4, average family of 4 going. That's 120 quid. It may even be a little bit more than that. So we're looking at around $200 American, just to give you kind of around about $200 American, just to give you a comparison. And there are thousands of people that go there. I mean, thousands and thousands of people that go there every year, all paying 30 quid each. And that's not including, that's just to get in. That's not including like all the gift shops where they sell a million things that are dotted all over the place. There's restaurants there.
7 quid for a can of Coke.
Yeah. All the little tiny little food huts that sell just ice cream or just drinks or whatever like that. And they come on across my Facebook feed about a month ago, crying poverty, saying, we're desperate for money. We've this 9 or 10 weeks has been horrendous for us, and we now can't afford to run the zoo. So could you please donate? And everyone's going on saying, oh my God, here's £20, here's £50, we love it there, here's more, like here's this, here's that. And I just said, and my wife said to me, are you going to give them anything? And I said, well, no, because where's all that money gone that they've been having for all these years? Where is it? Because I know because my wife used to work for a pet company, and the people who worked at the pet company only worked there so they could then get a job at Chester Zoo. Even though Chester Zoo's wages it's basically tea and biscuits. You work there because you love working there. Mm-hmm. You're not, it's not like they're on like 40 grand a year. They're not. You work there because you get to work with elephants all day, or you get to work with tigers all day, or something like that. That's a cool job. So you're doing it for the love, not for money. So I said to Sarah, I said, if they're crying poverty, I have no issue with that. If it's been really bad for them and it really has hit them economically, that's fine. But you got to show me that balance sheet. You got to show me something that says, look, this is how much money I've lost. And this is how it feeds back to these owners. You're crying poverty. You're telling me you need escrow to go up by whatever. Show me. Show me that you've lost all this money. Show me you need these players to help you. And if it's a case of, well, look, if this company doesn't get this money, the Anaheim Ducks are no longer going to exist. Fine. Now I can see it. That makes sense. But they won't. Because on the balance sheet, it's going to say something like, operating profits, for Chester Zoo's case, operating profits for the last 20 years, £700 million or something. And people are going to say, what? How much? Like, how much do you charge again for us to get in? This is a disgrace. And it's the same as all these airline companies. I mentioned this before. You're trying to tell me that you've got no money, British Airways? You're trying to tell me you can't afford to keep these people on at these prices? How much does it fucking cost to get on a plane to go on holiday? Are you taking the piss? You've got no money. No, because what it says on your balance sheet is payment to this chief executive, payment to this non-executive director, payment to this politician, payment to this politician, hundreds of thousands of pounds frittered away. And it'll be the same with these owners. Well, I actually used the Vancouver Canucks to lease out a yacht. And if I don't pay that yacht back, then the yacht club basically gets the Vancouver Canucks. So you're going to need to sort of, help me out here a bit. You're crying poverty. You got to show me something. Show me how poor you are if you're crying poverty. And then I'll say, fine. Okay, yeah, the players have got to do something. But until that happens, no, the players shouldn't give them shit. Not anything.
It's the problem with all of these industries, your airlines, your Chester Zoo, your sports teams. We need donations to stay afloat. Otherwise, our billionaire owners will have to dip into their own pockets. It's the Anaheim Ducks are going to go. They're going to have to fold. Either you donate some money, the players give up something in escrow, or God forbid, Henry Samueli is going to have to pay some money to keep his organisation afloat. Like this is it. It's as we've said. It's the owners are perfectly happy taking responsibility for the good times and reaping in the profits, and like you say, taking the 7-figure salaries, taking the bonuses, leasing out their yachts on the team's name or whatever. But as soon as it hits a slight bit of your investment, your risky investment, it's not just an ownership. It's not like it's not like you've got a warranty on your fucking fridge and it's gone pop in 6 months. This is an investment. As soon as that goes down, it's like, oh well, I shouldn't be responsible for this too. It's the poor who should pay.
Yeah.
Do not demonise the players in this situation, because compared to these owners, they are fucking poor. Well, apart from Eugene. Eugene's asking fucking Jack Johnson for money, but that's a different situation.
Eugene still takes some money out of his kids' Christmas cards.
Fucking tooth fairy's coming along. He's like, oi, I'll have the tooth and the quid.
I love how Eugene's like now super cockney. Oi, oi.
Here we go, mate.
Tooth fairy. Give me that £25, you mag.
I'll have that. Get 70p for this tooth. Fucking hell, mate. Eugene, in my eyes,
yeah, no, it's true.
In my eyes, he's Fagan in a Sens jersey.
Fucking hell, that might be the most realist thing you've ever said.
What can I say?
Dude, he is, isn't he? He absolutely is. He's Fagan in a Sens jersey. Fucking hell.
Just you wait until he's up on stage, whenever it might be, with his arm around Alexis Lafreniere, whispering in his ear, what's your blood type, boy?
Oh, God.
Okay, speaking of Lafreniere, it's happening tonight. I say tonight, it's already happened when you're listening to it. Who's getting the first overall pick?
I've already put on Twitter, Sens get pick 1 and 2 or I fucking riot.
So, but is that actually your prediction though?
No, the Red Wings are getting first overall.
Yeah,
I reckon
that's the annoyingly boring take, isn't it?
Mate, if they don't, as we talked about the other week, if they don't, boy, they've had some they've had some chances to pick well over the past few years, and they've picked something like 4th, 6th, and 6th. Don't get me wrong, they're probably going to be fine players, but you need a Lafreniere or a Byfield. You know, that guy's going to drive your team and make everybody kind of better around him, don't you? And I just think there's your conspiracy for tonight. You know, the Red Wings ball's a bit heavier, or they put the ball in the fridge to make it colder or something. And, you know, I guess we'll see. But I am praying. I can't use up my sports wish because that's still ongoing, and I can't tell anyone what that is in case I ruin it. But if I had an extra sports wish, it would absolutely be that the Sens get first and second tonight. But I think the Red Wings are getting it.
I don't know if you can call it a conspiracy when the team with the best odds to win the first overall pick win the first overall pick. Like, that's not...
Here's the thing. Actually, how many times in the past few years, it's not happened that much, has it? Thinking about it, the team with the first overall, legitimately first overall, if it was the old style, has then got first overall. Or am I just thinking wrong about that?
No, I think you are right. Because New Jersey and Philadelphia and Dallas jumped into the top 3 in 2017. Were Buffalo the worst for 2018? I think they jumped, didn't they?
I think they jumped as well.
What about 2019? The Devils, were they the worst? I don't think they were. I think it was the Sens or the Predators, wasn't it? Sens and the Red Wings. That would be worth looking up, if it was worth looking up. But I think you're right.
Since it's become like the actual lottery and not just you were the shittest team, so you get first overall.
It's rare.
I feel like more often than not, it's not happened that much that the worst team has actually got the first overall pick. There you go. You see, the conspiracy, the fix is in. Will,
but that's it.
Detroit, they're going to win the lottery. The fix is in.
It's the thing where the best odds are 18.5%. Like there isn't. That's not good odds still. That's less than...
No, it's not.
Less than 4 to 1, isn't it? Or less than 5 to 1.
Less than 5 to 1, yeah.
Which is, still a decent bet. You'd probably give it a go, but it's still not fantastic.
Do you think Detroit get it?
Yeah, I think it'll be... Here you go. Here's my prediction. Detroit 1, Senators 2, and then mystery team number 3.
Yeah, team always... There's been, like, again, the past couple of years, there's been a massive jump, hasn't there?
I think it'll be one of the...
Stars jumped, didn't they? Didn't the Stars jump when they got high school?
Yeah, they went from
10 to 3.
Or 10 or something like that to... They were fucking... And Philadelphia that year as well. Really,
and then the
really
Flyers
stretched.
as well, yeah.
But no, I reckon the third team will be one of the playing teams.
You see, not only is the fix in that Detroit, as a former major hockey market now in its downturn, needs to rebuild back up, can you really see Bettman and his Goonies letting the Sens have 1 and 2? Because I can't.
I can't. Just as like a...
If the fix is seriously in, the Sens are picking 7 and 8. Somehow. I know they can't, but like that's what would happen somehow.
Just as like a punishment for Eugene.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Bettman's sitting there saying, we're really going to give fucking Eugene Melnyk, Alexis Lafreniere and Quentin Byfield? No, I'm not mental. There'll even be a team there in a few years.
Like, Bettman calling Eugene into his office and saying, Eugene, I've got the results of the draft lottery here. Holds up the piece of paper and it's the Sens picking 1 or 2. It's a shame that because of people's conduct recently, they had to be drawn again and just tears them up, puts them onto a fire. Oh, would you look at that?
Then he holds up 2 new pieces of paper. One says fuck, the other says you.
I think the Arizona Coyotes will be picking first overall.
I mean, yeah, they shouldn't they, really?
Fuck no.
Just to Taylor Hall can keep his streak.
I'd say the Sabres, but they clearly can't be trusted with the first overall pick.
Oh, you want to talk about if the fix is in or not? What about if the Devils win again?
There's been suspiciously...
Because we talked about this last year, didn't we? And the Devils don't seem to get as much shit from everywhere else, even though they've won like 2 out of the last 3 from nowhere.
Nowhere near enough talk about the Devils. Devils being fucking handed a rebuild by the league.
Yeah.
Just fucking on the plate. Here you go. Here's your 1-2. What? You need a D-man? Alright, here's Jamie Drysdale. Don't worry about it.
No probs. There you go, mate.
They're just waiting for Shane right now in 2022 or whatever it is. It'll just be given to him on a plate.
But that'll be me tonight. I shall be on a bended knee praying to the hockey gods.
You're not going to stay up and watch it, are you?
Of course I'm not. I'm not mental.
Debatable.
Fucking hell, watching the draft. What am I?
It's not even the draft.
No offense if you're watching the... Well, no.
Fucking draft lottery.
Like I said before, some offence if you're watching the draft. If you sit around and watch the draft for that long, you kind of need to reevaluate things, I think.
Mate, if you
just look it up in the morning or, after the fact.
If my team's picking in the top 15, I might stick around and watch it. If I'm picking 28th overall, I'm not fucking staying up until 3 in the morning just to watch. And the Dallas Stars select Colin Collinson from fucking Eden Prairie High School. Alright, great.
I still wouldn't watch it. I wouldn't care if the Bruins in the middle of a rebuild and it was them going for like Lafreniere or Byfield. I'm still not staying up and watching it.
Oh, fucking get out of it. If the Bruins had the first overall... that's different things, right? If they had the first overall pick and then you know who they're going to pick, I think that's less reason to stay up and watch.
Yeah, but I'm saying though, even if they're in a lottery and they had if they were the Red Wings of tonight and they had an 18.5%, I'm still not watching it. I'm really not.
I'm not watching the fucking draft lottery. I'm not staying up to watch Bill Daly flip over fucking cards like some fucking D-rate magician. Fucking Bill Daly. Why do we give a fuck about Bill Daly? Do you know what I mean? Like, why do I know what Bill Daly's fucking name is? Why do I know what he fucking looks like?
Oh, God knows.
Fucking Bill Daly. I hate him. I hate Bill Daly more than Gary Bettman, I think. Just because, like, what is the point of him?
Yeah, you know what Bill Daly is? Bill Daly's Tuesday. He's a Tuesday.
He's the dickhead's number 2. Like, how shit of a person do you have to be the dickhead's number 2? Yeah, Tuesday is pretty shit, isn't it?
Well, it doesn't have a point.
I mean...
What's the point of Tuesday?
What's the point of any
Seriously.
days, but...
Hey, I'm glad you asked me that, Will. I will give you my little rundown. Right? Monday's Monday. Monday's your... Oh, fucking hell. Fair enough, Mondays are normally shit, but it has a job. That is its job. Wednesday's the middle of the week.
I kind of rate a Monday,
Fantastic.
if I can just interject. I kind of rate a Monday because sometimes you get those like, all right, it's Monday, let's fucking have it. I'm here, I'm ready for it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. You feel like sometimes on a Monday you can charge at the week and do what you need to do, take care of some business. Right, it's a Monday, let's fucking sort this out. We'll get this done.
Now I'm going to be a reasonable human being. This is the week. I turn it all around.
Now I'm really going to learn Italian, or whatever. Wednesday is the middle of the week. Wednesday, that's its job. Okay, middle of the week, awesome. I get through today. I've only got 2 more days to the weekend. That's brilliant. Thursday's job. Thursday's soft Friday.
Yeah.
So Thursday's getting you ready for Friday. That's its job. Like, holy shit, Friday tomorrow. Right. Cannot wait.
Last real day of the week before
Thursday's like the last actual work. Thursday's the last actual work day of the week, if you think about it. It really is. Friday, no explanation needed.
It's fucking over.
Saturday, the best day. Just amazing all day. Sunday, fun in the morning. Bit scary in the afternoon. Can be a bit of a, fucking hell, it's Monday tomorrow. That's Sunday. Sunday is like a 2-pronged job. Sunday's your 2-way day. Basically, it's your 2-way forward of days.
You can't fully commit to a Sunday, is the problem, can you? There are consequences after a Sunday.
That's true. Sunday's a big consequence day. A big consequence day.
I think...
And like I say, though, Tuesday... What is Tuesday? It doesn't do anything.
Well, it's a mirror image of the Thursday, where Thursday's a soft Friday, Tuesday's a real Monday.
No,
because
nothing can top a Monday from being Monday. Monday is Monday.
But I think you get into a Tuesday, the potential stat boost of let's have it Monday has completely worn off. You're properly staring down the barrel of I've still got the majority of the week left. And all of the oomph that I had for the week was gone by 11 o'clock Monday morning. Now I just want to fucking die. At least that's how my Tuesdays go. I don't know, but I can't speak for anyone else.
And that's very much like the draft lottery. Have you got to that? Oh yeah, Bill Daly.
Bill Daly flips over. The Leafs picking up 15. Now I want to die. I can't do
Bill Daly flips over a card. Tuesday. I knew it!
I fucking told you.
I told you it was a Tuesday. All right. Yeah, good luck for the Sens tonight. I'm rooting for you.
Mate,
I'm rooting for you, Ottawa fans. Just for lols and just for the hilarity of it. I can't wait.
Not to be vulgar, but I will have a massive erection if I see the Sens have 1 and 2 in the morning.
Oh, dude. I might even start drinking again if I see that. That'd be like just tears of joy. It'd be the birth of my daughter getting married, Sens pick 1 and 2.
Is
Nothing else would even come close.
Is that your ascending order, like 3, 2, 1?
Yeah, 3, 2, 1, of course. Yeah, of course. Thank you for listening, everyone. Good luck to the Sens tonight. Will, any last words?
I wanted to say Mon Eugene, but I don't think I can fully commit to that sentiment. But Mark Borowiecki.
There we go. Yeah, Mon Borrow Cop. That'll do. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Peace.